Okay. Great to see you. This class is being recorded. I think I'm going to record them from now on. We have this camera. This way people who miss can still whatever. It's been a while since we've met.
Yeah.
Did you attend any of the Tuesday classes? Were you able to make it? I don't remember.
I attended
I went to one.
one and I watched the rest on YouTube.
Oh, so you're okay. I was wondering who the...
I said,
Who
yeah.
YouTube, you know, you can count the views. On
Oh,
YouTube.
yeah,
I was
that's
wondering,
great.
who are those 9 people or 20 people who
Right.
watched the class? Yeah, okay, glad to know. Glad to know. Okay. I think we were going through our list of holidays, right?
Oh, no,
No?
I think
Kosher
we were
was the
at 5.
last.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, yeah. Of course.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
We finished Kosher.
Ah, okay, good. We'll talk about that. First, though, we're going to talk about Purim, okay? Let's maybe, since Purim is coming soon, I think we'll talk about Purim. And even though we've spoken about it before, I think that's okay? There are, and I guess if what I'm saying is, stop me from saying things that's likely you know already. Purim is a rabbinic holiday. It's considered to be like a Chag, a Yom Tov D'Rabbanan, as opposed to a D'Oraita holiday, a biblical holiday. Even though the events of Purim are in the Bible, they're in the Hebrew Bible, in the Book of Esther, but the Book of Esther is not one of the 5 books of Moses. It's not a Torah book, and therefore anything that comes from this book, we consider it legally to be D'Rabbanan, to be rabbinic, as opposed to biblical in that kind of dichotomy. I'm not going to summarize the story. You should all just read it for yourself. If you haven't read it in a while, there's a mitzvah to read it, coming up very soon. But it's a beautiful story. It's a story that is subject to a great deal of interpretation, all sorts of ways. Some notable features, right? The name of God does not appear in the Book of Esther, unless if you're at the first lecture you heard that in the Greek version of the Book of Esther, and in many of the Christian versions it does appear, but it's neither here nor there. And yet we have this sort of miraculous unfolding without God's name being explicit. And the story ends with the Jews victorious over their enemies and establishing a holiday to celebrate and commemorate the event. The Book of Esther says that the Jews of Shushan, the Persian capital where the events unfolded, they celebrated one day later. It took them an extra day of fighting. They celebrated one day later, and so Shushan Purim is the day after Purim, the 15th of Adar, and that's when Purim is celebrated in Shushan, or any other walled city, to kind of commemorate the way the miracle unfolded. A walled city here is a city that had a wall at the time of Joshua, when Joshua conquered the land of Israel. Why Joshua? What does that have to do with the story of Esther? The answer is absolutely nothing, but they wanted to give honor to the land of Israel and not sort of draw attention to the fact that at the time of the Purim story, the land of Israel was desolate, and the cities were destroyed. And so we go back, we sort of retro-date or something like that, sort of post-date this determination. Any city that had a wall at the time of Joshua celebrates Purim on the 15th of Adar rather than the 14th of Adar. Okay. What cities does this include? So Jerusalem. Okay, again, historically did whatever, I don't know when Yerushalayim did or did not have a wall, but it's assumed to have had a wall at the time of Yoshua, at the time of Joshua, and so Jerusalem, Purim is celebrated one day later. Other cities, possibly some of the other ancient cities in Israel.
Akko?
Akko has, yes.
Is that walled early enough?
So it has a wall now, and there are 2 questions. One question is how old is the wall in the city of Akko, the old city of Akko? The second question is did the tradition develop amongst the Jews who live there to celebrate Purim on the 15th of Adar? So Akko, there is a tradition about Akko. Damascus is probably one of the oldest cities in the world, and I think Damascus I think they celebrate Purim on the 15th, I'm not entirely sure. Prague, some say, has an ancient city. Prague is probably not that ancient a city, but many of these European communities had traditions that they were much older than they are. A lot of the Jewish communities in Europe had traditions about themselves that they are, just much earlier than they actually seem to be. Jerusalem is the one that's really established and certain without any question that it's celebrated on the 15th. Some of the other cities it's in question, so maybe we go twice or just leave for Purim so we don't have to be in that situation. So it's a strange thing. No other holiday is sort of celebrated on multiple days. That's sort of one of the things that makes Purim different. It's also again the first rabbinic holiday, the first time the Jews added a holiday, which is kind of a crazy thing. Like the Torah says, these are the holidays you're going to celebrate, and we came along and added an extra holiday not mentioned in the Torah, the holiday of Purim. So that's kind of chutzpah, right? If you could say. But in fact we did, and so maybe some of the differences are. Maybe intentional, right? Sort of, of course, they're intentional, but they're to draw attention to the fact this is not a biblical holiday; it's a rabbinic holiday, and so it has a sort of different paradigm. I don't know, so much to say. Really, a lot of deep meaning there. In the Talmud, Purim is understood as therefore almost like a second acceptance of the Torah. Gemara says Kimlu v'Kiblu, right? The time of we sit at Sinai, we were forced to accept the Torah, right? The Talmud says God held the mountain over us like a barrel to threaten us. If you don't accept the Torah, I'll kill you all. Which, whether that was how literally when I interpret that, if you accept the Torah in the wilderness with all sorts of miracles, that's not a very free choice that you're making. But at the time of Purim, where God's hand was hidden, and yet we saw that sort of the miraculous event sort of unfolds in this way, and the story has this happy ending. We re-accepted the Torah of our own free will at the time of Purim. That's the position mentioned in the Talmud. And again, maybe also you're adding a holiday on your own. You're sort of saying, yeah, okay, the system is good. I'm gonna add something. It's like I don't know. You tell a kid to do something. You force a kid to do something, and then the kid does something on his own. It's like, now I know that you get it, right? So we create a holiday of our own. That's like, okay, and we really buy into the system of Jewish observance and Jewish life. There are 4 mitzvot of Purim. These are, again, all rabbinic mitzvot. There's no biblical mitzvot on Purim. And all 4 of them are performed during Purim day. Except for the first, which is done on Purim day also, and also at night. And that is first mitzvah of Purim is to hear the Megillah read, or to read the Megillah, or hear the Megillah being read from a Megillah scroll. This is the book of Esther, Megillat Esther. So again, this mitzvah is a daytime mitzvah. We do it at night as well. So we do the mitzvah twice. You have to hear the Megillah read twice, or read it yourself, or hear someone else read it. Men and women are equally obligated in this mitzvah of hearing the Megillah read, and so every Jewish adult has to hear the Megillah at evening and during the day. So we'll have sort of late readings to accommodate people who. Is that a question?
No.
Okay. The second mitzvah of the day is the mitzvah of Mishlach Manot. This is a mitzvah to send gifts of food to friends and family. At least 2 food items to somebody else. Okay, it could be very simple. It could be a can of Coke and a candy bar to a friend, or it can be a $300 fruit basket. So anywhere in between is fine, and you can give again minimally to 1 person, but you can give to 20 people. You can give to 100 people. You can if you participate in the shul's Mishlach Manot system, you don't have to instead of having. In addition to giving to your 5 best friends or the first 20 people you see on Purim day, you can also everyone in the shul gets a basket with a whole bunch of things in it, and it has a list of everyone's name who contributed towards the program. So that's also a nice way to do things. So everyone gets something with your name on it, and you only have to give to maybe 1 friend or a handful of people you see on Purim day. So that's the mitzvah of Mishlach Manot. Next mitzvah is the mitzvah of gifts to the poor. At least 2 poor people should receive monetary gifts that's distributed on Purim day. So we will collect money here. I will call various social agencies, like the ARC in particular. We'll say, we've collected $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is. And they'll say, great, and they will, send us the check, and they will then allocate and give out that money on Purim day to poor people who are in their system. So that is...
So it should be 2 friends and family for food and
2 foods to 1 friend, Mishlach Manot.
2 foods.
To at least 1 friend.
I see.
And then gifts of money to at least 2 poor people. In addition, there's a custom not to say no to anyone who asks you for money on Purim day. So it's a beggar on the street, whatever it might be. Even if normally you might not give to everyone, the custom on Purim is to give to everyone. You don't have to. You don't only have. If your wallet is filled with $20 bills, you don't have to give everyone a $20 bill. You see, but maybe that'd be a reason to get. Some singles, yeah. So again, because the part of the story is the Jewish people kind of took responsibility for themselves and for each other, and sort of came together in a in that way. And so solidarity that we create by giving gifts of food and the social capital we build by giving to the poor is like, that is really core to what the day is about. And also, gifts to the poor is what every Jewish holiday is about. That's explicit in all of the holidays described in the Torah itself. And Rambam writes about the obligations to rejoice in the festivals. He is also, again, very explicit. For example, Rambam is particularly explicit about it and eloquent about it, that the rejoicing on the festivals has to include like those who are otherwise excluded from enjoying the holiday. Make sure you take responsibility for that they enjoy the holiday as well. And the final mitzvah is to have a su'udah, to have a holiday meal, again on Purim day itself. This is a meal with bread, birkat hamazon, like any other holiday meal, and it has to, you start the meal before sunset on Purim day itself. This year Purim day is Thursday. There are customs to get drunk on Purim day. Purim night, people also get drunk. That's just, there's no Jewish legitimacy to that practice. But during the day, there is a custom to get drunk. The sort of minimum would be drink a little bit more than you usually do and go take a nap. Others get more drunk than that. I think it's an old custom. It seems to be enjoyed. Well, the Talmud says, you should be so drunk on Purim that you can't tell the difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. So taking a nap certainly fulfills that. But the story then, the Talmud then continues and tells a story of Rabbi and Rabbi Zera had a Purim feast together, and Rabbi got so drunk that he killed Rabbi Zera. And then he was able to miraculously revive him. And the next year he said, "Come for Purim." And he said, "No, I don't think so." You can't rely on miracles. Miracles don't happen every day. So that story is, the relationship of that story to the statement. You have the Talmud says you have an obligation to get drunk on Purim, and then tells a story about this terrible tragedy that happened because somebody got drunk on Purim. So maybe that's sort of moderating somewhat this obligation. So you have to know yourself and your capacity for alcohol and what it's going to do to you. I think. On Purim day, if you know the responsibilities and you clear your schedule and you're a little tipsy and it makes you enjoy the holiday all the more, then great. But if you're going to get sick and embarrass yourself and, in Jewish law, being drunk is never an excuse for any damage you cause anything or, to any other person, right? Adam lo ad olam, the Torah says. Person is always, it's also from last week's part, right? Parshat Mishpatim, the
Enodamim?
No. It talks about the difference between a short tam and a shor muad, an ox that is gored before and an ox that has not gored before. An ox that's normal, so the responsibility of the owner of an ox that has never caused damage before is less than the obligation for damage caused by an ox that has caused damage in the past. A human being is always considered in this category of being warned, of being, having potential for damage is always there. So therefore, no matter what, whether the person is awake or sleeping or compelled to act in a certain way, or is acting fully volitionally, the person is always responsible for the things he does. We're going to have a play Purim night here at the shul, a little spiel that a group of members of the community have been working on for quite a few weeks.
It's on Tuesday or Wednesday?
That'll be Wednesday night. Wednesday, the day before Purim, is a fast day. It's a fast that starts at sunrise or light dawn and lasts until dark. So we fast until after we hear the Megillah being read, and then there'll be the auction here, and there'll be the spiel. It should be a lot of fun. It's a sort of a day of satire. And again, long traditions of this. They were Purim plays and going back hundreds of years, and all sorts of fun satire. So people dress in costumes. I think you should try it again. It's really fun.
Oh, I
know.
Break your fast by teetering. And then start drinking.
When Purim falls on Friday, is the 14th ever on a Friday, or is it the 15th? The 14th on a Saturday? The 14th is on a Saturday because Purim is Shulash. And the 14th of Adar, not of March, the 14th of...
My bad.
The 14th of Adar falls on a Saturday. We call that Purim, a 3-day Purim. And Jerusalem celebrates on Sunday. Everyone else celebrates on Friday. And in Jerusalem you have... No, that can't happen. The 15th can be on a Saturday. When the 15th is on a Saturday, then Jerusalem has what they call Purim Mishulash, where they read Megillah on Thursday night, and they have the Purim Suda on Sunday, and on Shabbat they say Al Hanisim, the added addition to the Amidah and Birkat Hamazon for Purim. So that's, I think that's how they do it. This last happened 2008, I think. So I don't remember exactly what we did, but that's. If you're in that situation, it's really fun. Embrace it. 3-day Purim, but it doesn't happen often. Okay. Anything else about Purim? Just thought we should just go over that since it's coming up pretty soon.
How is Joshua included again? I mean,
that's just the date. The date for when we say that walled cities had to have had walls is from Joshua's conquest.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand.
Okay. Roman numeral 5, is that right?
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
I think we were done with Kosher.
I think so too. Roman numeral 5, kosher speech. Okay, so there are 3 types of bad speech. What we in English may call slander. There are 3 levels in Jewish law. There's a 20th century rabbi, the Chafetz Chaim, known as the Chafetz Chaim, wrote a book called Sefer Chafetz Chaim that I won't say popularized these laws, but he kind of popularized them. And I mean, they existed before him, but he gave them a lot of added significance. Thought they were really, really crucial to ethical life. And I was just thinking of him because they were circulating on the internet like a video made of him in 1923. So you can sort of see what he looked like. It was pretty incredible.
Does he look like the picture on the outside of the book?
You can sort of, kind of, a little bit. I mean, you can. It's. I don't know. It was. Among my Facebook friends, it was like people were watching it yesterday and etc. Oh, it's. If you remind me, I'll try to find you the video. And somebody else also found his New York Times, the obituary in the New York Times when he died. It was really kind of interesting. The Times picked up on it. So his name was Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan. He was a very important rabbi, lived in Lithuania, died in the 1930s. And he wrote this book, again, on the laws of slander, which was one of the things that made him famous. He also wrote Mishnah Berurah, which is a very important commentary on the section of the Shulchan Aruch that deals with daily life and Shabbat and holidays. So that I think his students wrote, and he just sort of supervised them. I don't think he actually wrote that word for word. Very, very, very important scholar, saintly figure. He.
How do you spell his name?
And Chet Pei Tzadi, so Chafetz, Chafetz, Chaim, Chaym, Chet Yud Mem. And that's the name of his book. In Judaism, a lot of people if you write a very famous book, you get referred to by the name of your book.
Oh.
So his name is Rabbi Kagan, but he was known as the Chafetz Chaim, or the author of the Chafetz Chaim, right?
Wow.
Okay. Which means the one who desires life, okay? So 3 levels of slanderous speech. The worst is Motzi Shem Ra, which is saying something about somebody which is derogatory and not true. And that's also mentioned in the Parsha Mishpatim, okay? Somebody who, you make up something about somebody that's derogatory and damaging, and it's false. The second level is Lashon Hara, which is derogatory and damaging, but true. Okay, saying, but it's true is not an excuse, okay? That's actually what makes it bad, is the fact that it's true. And I guess there's a Lashon Hara has a. I guess there's also something that's not only there's also something. There's a rechilut, which is not really derogatory, but it is true, but it has no purpose for being said. That's just sort of empty gossip. Okay, so those are sort of 3 levels of things that you should avoid. Okay, with increasing stringency. So rechilut is true, not really derogatory, and not really damaging, but there's no reason to be talking about other people that way. Did you see what she was wearing?
So like not flattering.
It's not flat. No, it's not flattering. It's just sort of like needless talking about other people. Okay, in the sense that like great people speak about ideas, mediocre people speak about events, and base people speak about other people. Okay. Then again, Lashon Hara is true, but it's derogatory and damaging. And then Motzi Shem Ra, that's just slander. Okay, making up false things about somebody, which are derogatory and damaging. If there's a toelet, if there's a purpose, then you can say Lashon Hara, right? You can say things that are derogatory and damaging if there's a reason. Like, where did you get your car repaired? Did you go to, Harold's car repair service? say, yeah, but like Harold was like really dishonest and did a really bad job, right? That's damaging and derogatory, but there's a purpose. The purpose is I need advice on where to bring my car for repairs. And you couldn't tell it to me if there was no reason, if I didn't need to know, right? Let's say Harold did a terrible job repairing your car. What do I need to know that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay? But if I have a car and I'm also looking around for someone to repair my car, then I do have a reason to be told, and so therefore you can tell somebody. And it's, I think I think in some cultures there's maybe we're too quick to share derogatory and damaging information with other people. I think in other cultures, other times, we are too reluctant to share information that needs to be shared, like about abusive people in our community, and no one wants to make a scandal, and we don't, et cetera, et cetera. But no, that's actually protecting people is really important, and that is a toelet. That's a reason why you can share this information. The other sort of piece of the other sort of, I guess, axis in which you can evaluate the ethics of speech is whether something is true or not. Sheker is also, that's also in this last week's sheker. You can't. Torah tells us to be exceedingly distant from anything untrue, from lies, from falsehoods. And yet the Torah also includes a couple of examples of lies for the sake of peace. And so you should tell the truth. You shouldn't lie, but these sort of what we call white lies or lies for the sake of peace seems to be, peace is a higher value than truth. The example in the Torah, do you know the example in the Torah?
We spoke about it in shul a month or so ago.
You and I?
No, not you and I, but the Torah portion, I think, was on that, the white lie thing.
It could have been.
It was 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's very likely. Yes, it was 2 months ago. Yes. There were a couple of examples. When Joseph and his brothers is maybe one, and Sarah and Abraham is the more clear one, where God tells Abraham, why is Sarah laughing, saying, my husband's too old to have a child.
That's right.
And Sarah had actually said...
Which I didn't understand why that was bad to say. It's true.
Okay.
As you were.
Okay. Sarah says, my husband is so old, and God says, why does Sarah say, I can't have a child? Why is she laughing, saying she's too old? Really, she said, my husband's too old. So that's sort of a mishanet, right? That's the change of what she actually said for the sake of peace between husband and wife. Another famous example in the Talmud, we just saw this in Daf Yomi, in our daily Talmud study, there's a quote, the Talmud asks, what do you sing as you are dancing before a bride at her wedding? And Beit Shammai, the school of Shammai, say, Kala Kamochi, you just call it like you see it, you sort of describe her as she is, so as you're praising her and singing. And Beit Hillel says, Kala Na'ava Chasuda. No, the Kala is beautiful and gracious, that's what you say. And that seems to be what we do, right? In other words, every bride on her wedding day, we sing and dance and say that she's beautiful and radiant. The bride is radiant, right? That's what we say. But every bride, whereas Beit Shammai, no, you can't call it like you see it, kind of, you say,
this isn't good.
The bride, you say, the bride is a great personality. Okay, let's do one more. Next, letter C. Another type of questions. Any questions? Ona'ah is a concept of literally means depression or causing pain to someone. It has a financial aspect. You can't overcharge somebody or for something you sell them, or underpay someone for a service. Right? You have to sort of pay fair value. Mm-hmm. In the context of speech, it means you can't say patriot. I don't know. It's a mitzvah to be PC. Okay, even though people make fun of, don't say that they're,
differently able.
Right. Don't exactly. Don't whatever exactly. So I know somebody said once wrote I used to think about making fun of the theory of multiple intelligences and saying I used to think my son was stupid. Then I realized he was just a nasal learner. But the Talmud says you can't. If somebody, you shouldn't. If you're talking to somebody whose father was a highwayman and was hanged for his crimes, don't use the word hang. Even when talking about, like, don't say, oh, would you hang those fish up on the don't, ixnay on the, don't bring up.
Don't talk about the war.
Yes, don't bring up sensitive topics. Amongst people for whom it's going to be painful. It'll be a trigger to some really traumatic memories or aspects about themselves. Like, just be sensitive to where they're coming from and avoid using language that will be painful to them. That's the fish thing. That's an example in the Talmud. So that's you don't. Somebody is another example of the Talmud. Somebody's a convert and they have. In the case that the Talmud is talking about, they have pagan parents and grandparents. So don't remind them. They may not be so proud of where of their lineage, but you shouldn't don't remind them of these painful things about their heritage.
It's the origin of trigger warnings.
Origin of trigger warnings.
Is that right?
No, I mean, so
Yeah.
I kind of think, I don't know. I
mean, it's the
yeah. So I understand why people make fun of, or not make fun, or even like are resistant to, and even are opposed to the kind of like trigger warning,
like overuse,
PC like culture. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, why would you use language that's going to be hurtful to somebody if you can speak about something in a way that won't hurt them? Like, just don't. Your language can hurt somebody. Like, don't. I think that's so. Just be sensitive about it, and somebody else. Even if they should be, why they have no reason to be offended, they have no reason to be upset. But well, it doesn't matter. Like, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who has famously said that someone else's material needs are my spiritual needs. Somebody else's gashmiut is my ruchniut. Okay, which means providing for somebody else's physical need is a spiritual achievement of mine. If I make sure you have food and clothing and comfort and a home and all the physical things to make your life physically comfortable, if I provide that for you, that is a spiritual accomplishment on my part. Somebody else's gashmiut is my ruchniut. So I would riff on that and say somebody else's neurosis is my ethics, right? Like, you have a neurotic, fear of elephants, but like, if I can not talk about elephants in front of you, like, that's being ethical and sensitive and decent, right? Doesn't matter, like, there's nothing wrong with elephants, you shouldn't be scared of elephants, like, okay, it doesn't matter, but you are, okay, there's just whatever reason you're scared of elephants, and so to be a thoughtful, sensitive, caring person is to kind of just respect other people's craziness.
We're all over that. I'm pulling that out at work all the time. It's gonna.
Okay, go for it.
I work in HR, so it's very
man.
relevant. Very relevant. Yeah.
You gonna quote me? Okay, you can.
I'm gonna quote you.
Okay, excellent. And Rabbi Yisrael will answer. Okay. Let's pause here. Okay. I'm sorry it was a short class today, but I have some meetings coming up, and this is a good pausing place. What are we going to do next? A week from Tuesday, I am not here. Oh, that's not true. I am here, but there's a class. We have a class here. We have another one of the Wednesday classes on Tuesday, this time taught by Dan Rosenberg, which should be great. He's good, right?
He's awesome.
He is awesome. So that'll be a week from today, on Monday, March 2nd. Tuesday, March 3rd. On Tuesday, March 10th.
I'm gone. If you guys would plan your schedule around my needs.
Okay, Anna.
I'm gone.
Where are you headed?
Well, I am going to a training in Santa Monica, California.
Whatever.
I'm definitely not accommodating that. Okay, so
Yeah.
I am.
You're going to cover all of the rest of the stuff on that.
Except for-
I think I will put it on the schedule, and I will try to record it again. And so
Right.
March 10th, Tuesday, March 10th, and it can be a little bit later because Mincha then will be 6:30, so it'll be over on. So let's start 7:15.
7:15,
Which is what time we met today. Okay, 7:15.
I'll watch the video while I'm sitting on the beach.
Oh, girl, you just didn't say
I
that.
just did.
Oh.
Very funny. Maybe I'll record it on
That's
the beach
just what we
and
talked
send you a
about.
video.
You did the scary elephant thing.
I
Scary
totally
elephant
did.
You did the
Sorry,
scary
guys.
elephant thing. Thanks for the video. Alright.